Before we begin, a quick and important disclaimer. The following content is provided strictly for educational and entertainment purposes. It does not constitute legal advice, nor does it establish an attorney-client relationship. Divorce laws, mediation procedures, and court requirements vary significantly by state and jurisdiction within the United States. Every family situation is unique, and the information presented here should not be used as a substitute for the counsel of a licensed attorney or a qualified professional in your specific area. Please conduct your own due diligence and consult with a professional regarding your individual legal or financial circumstances before making any decisions. For decades, the American divorce was defined by the mahogany tables of a courtroom, the aggressive posturing of litigators, and a winner-take-all mentality that left families financially depleted and emotionally shattered. But a quiet revolution has taken place in the shadows of the U.S. legal system. While the public still imagines divorce as a scene out of a courtroom drama, the reality of the 21st century is that nearly 90% of cases are now resolved outside of a trial. We are witnessing the collapse of the traditional adversarial model and the rise of a sophisticated multi-billion-dollar mediation industry that is fundamentally rewriting how American society dissolves its most intimate contracts. If you think mediation is just a friendly chat in a conference room, you are missing the massive tectonic shift in how power, assets, and parental rights are being negotiated in the modern era. Today, we are launching a 10-part masterclass documenting this transformation. For the millions of Americans navigating the complexities of separation, this video solves the most pressing problem of the current legal landscape: the information gap. The traditional system thrives on your confusion and your conflict. By the end of this series, you will understand the historical trends, the psychological mechanisms, and the strategic frameworks that have made mediation the gold standard for high-stakes transitions. We are moving beyond the surface-level advice and diving into the data-driven reality of how modern families are restructured without destroying their futures. To understand where we are going, we have to look at the sheer scale of the shift. In the 1970s and 80s, the legal system was designed for combat. The no-fault revolution changed the grounds for divorce, but it didn't immediately change the culture of the practitioners. Lawyers were trained to be zealous advocates, a term that often translated into maximizing conflict to maximize billable hours. However, the data began to show a staggering trend. The average litigated divorce in the United States could take anywhere from 18 months to 3 years to resolve, with costs often exceeding $100,000 for middle-class families. This wasn't just a financial drain, it was a societal crisis. The transformation of mediation began as a grassroots movement among psychologists and forward-thinking legal scholars who realized that the courtroom was the worst possible place to decide the future of a child or the division of a complex retirement portfolio. They argued that a judge, who might spend only 30 minutes reviewing a file, could never understand the nuances of a family's life, as well as the individuals themselves. This led to the birth of the evaluative and transformative mediation models that now dominate the U.S. landscape. In this deep dive, we are examining the step-by-step evolution of these models. For instance, consider the shift in how we handle shadow of the law negotiations. In the past, mediation was seen as a soft alternative. Today, it is a rigorous, structured process involving forensic accountants, child development specialists, and neutral financial professionals. We are seeing a move toward integrated mediation, where the mediator acts as a project manager for the family's entire restructuring. Let's look at a historical trend that highlights this. In the early 2000s, several states began implementing mandatory mediation for custody disputes. The initial pushback was immense. Critics argued it would deprive citizens of their day in court. Yet, the case studies that followed showed a remarkable outcome. Parents who mediated their parenting plans were statistically more likely to adhere to those plans long-term compared to those who had a schedule imposed upon them by a judge. The reason is rooted in a psychological concept known as procedural justice. When people feel they have a voice in the process and that the process is fair, they are more invested in the result. This masterclass will detail how this sense of agency is being leveraged in modern American society to handle increasingly complex assets. We aren't just talking about who gets the house. We are documenting how mediation has adapted to handle the valuation of digital assets, cryptocurrency portfolios, and the great wealth transfer, occurring as baby boomers divorce in record numbers, a phenomenon often called gray divorce. In these cases, the traditional scorched earth litigation tactics don't just hurt feelings. They can trigger catastrophic tax events and the liquidation of assets at the worst possible time. The shift toward mediation is also a response to the backlog of the U.S. court system. In many major metropolitan areas, the wait time for a trial date has tripled over the last decade. This justice delayed has forced the market to innovate. We are seeing the rise of private judging and sophisticated ADR, alternative dispute resolution, hubs that look more like high-end tech firms than law offices. These centers utilize data analytics to show couples the potential outcomes of their decisions in real time, allowing for a level of precision that was impossible 20 years ago. As we progress through this 10-part series, we will break down the 5 pillars of modern mediation. We will look at the neutrality framework, the confidentiality shield, the interest-based negotiation strategy, the financial disclosure protocol, and the finality mechanism. We will explore how these pillars support a system that prioritizes the preservation of capital, both financial and emotional. For the American viewer, the stakes have never been higher. The cost of living and the complexity of modern domestic life mean that a poorly handled divorce can set a family back 2 generations. By documenting the transformation of this field, we are providing a roadmap through the most significant legal evolution of our time. We are moving away from a system of winning and losing and toward a system of restructuring and sustainability. Consider the example of a standard high-asset case in 1995 versus 2025. In 1995, the process began with a summons and complaint, an aggressive document served by a process server, often designed to shock and intimidate. This would be followed by discovery, a grueling months-long process of paper shuffling and depositions. In 2025, the trend is moving toward pre-suit mediation, where the parties agreed to stay out of the court system entirely from day one. They enter a tolling agreement to protect their rights and sit down with a mediator to conduct voluntary disclosure. This isn't out of kindness. It's out of a sophisticated understanding that efficiency is the highest form of self-interest. Throughout this series, we will provide the step-by-step details of how these sessions are structured. You will learn the difference between caucusing, where the mediator meets with parties separately, and joint sessions. You will see how the language changed from custody and visitation to parenting time and decision-making responsibility, reflecting a deeper societal shift in how we view the role of parents post-divorce. This is the masterclass the legal establishment didn't want to happen for a long time, because an informed public is a public that no longer needs to pay for unnecessary conflict. We are pulling back the curtain on the evolution of American family law, and this is only the beginning of the transformation. To truly grasp the magnitude of this evolution, we have to look at the death of the traditional courtroom drama. Imagine a couple in the United States in the mid-1990s. Let us call them Michael and Sarah. In 1995, if Michael and Sarah decided to part ways, the very first move was often an act of legal aggression. Michael would hire a high-powered litigator who would file a complaint containing inflammatory language about irreconcilable differences or mental cruelty. This document would be served to Sarah at her workplace or in front of her children, instantly triggering a cortisol spike and a defensive posture. From that moment on, Michael and Sarah stopped being partners and started being adversaries. Every communication went through intermediaries at $300 an hour. The system was designed to extract information through force, using depositions and subpoenas to uncover every financial secret and personal flaw. Fast forward to 2026. The transformation we are documenting has replaced that battlefield with a high-tech, emotionally intelligent boardroom. Today, the process often starts with a joint phone call to a neutral mediator. There is no process server, no public filing of embarrassing allegations, and no immediate drain on the family's liquid assets. The focus has shifted from winning a case to solving a multivariable problem. This is not just a change in tone. It is a change in the entire structural engineering of American law. The core of this transformation lies in the move from positions to interests. In the old model, Michael would take a position, I want the house. Sarah would take a counterposition. No, I want the house. A judge, looking at a 15-minute snapshot of their 20-year marriage, would be forced to choose or order a sale that might be financially disadvantageous to both. In the modern 2026 mediation framework, a skilled mediator digs beneath those positions to find the underlying interests. Perhaps Michael wants the house because it is close to his office, while Sarah wants it because of the specific school district for their youngest daughter. By identifying these interests, the mediator can facilitate a creative solution, such as a nested birding arrangement or a deferred sale, that a judge would never have the authority or the time to craft. One of the most significant historical trends driving this shift is the professionalization of the mediator role. In the early days of the movement, a mediator might have been a retired judge or a lawyer looking for a slower pace. Today, the top-tier American mediators are interdisciplinary masters. They are trained in cognitive behavioral psychology, forensic accounting, and advanced negotiation theory. They understand the neuroscience of conflict. They know that when a human being feels threatened, their prefrontal cortex shuts down and their amygdala takes over. A 2026 mediator uses specific grounding techniques and structured agendas to keep both parties in their logical, decision-making brains. This isn't therapy, but it is therapeutically informed legal restructuring. Let us look at a case study involving a modern high-stakes scenario. Consider David and Elena, a couple living in a major U.S. tech hub in 2026. Their estate is not just composed of a 401k and a suburban home. It includes a portfolio of fluctuating digital assets, unvested stock options in a pre-IPO startup, and complex tax carry-forwards. In a traditional 1990s courtroom, a judge would struggle to even define these assets, let alone value them fairly. The litigation would involve two separate financial experts, each hired to produce a biased report favoring their respective client. The cost of these experts alone could exceed $50,000. In the transformed mediation model, David and Elena agreed to hire a single neutral financial professional. This professional sits at the table during the mediation sessions, providing real-time data on the potential outcomes of different distribution scenarios. They use sophisticated modeling software to show how a specific asset split will look in 5, 10, and 20 years, accounting for projected inflation and capital gains taxes. This transparency removes the fear of the unknown. When Elena sees that she can maintain her lifestyle without the high-maintenance primary residence, her willingness to negotiate increases. When David understands the tax implications of keeping his stock options versus offsetting them with other assets, the path to a deal becomes clear. This shift toward transparency is revolutionary. In the adversarial system, information was a weapon to be hoarded. In the mediation system of 2026, information is the lubricant that makes the deal possible. This is particularly evident in the evolution of mandatory disclosure laws across various U.S. states. Historically, you had to fight to see your spouse's bank statements. Now, many jurisdictions have streamlined these processes, encouraging parties to exchange a comprehensive financial affidavit before the first session even begins. But the transformation goes beyond finances. We have to discuss the evolution of the parenting plan. In the past, the standard was the every other weekend model. This was a rigid, one-size-fits-all solution that ignored the realities of modern work schedules and child developmental needs. Today, mediation allows for the creation of a bespoke parenting calendar. We see families implementing 2-2-5-5 schedules, 3-4-4-3 rotations, or even dynamic schedules that adjust as a child reaches certain milestones. The data from U.S. family court studies over the last decade shows a clear historical trend. Children whose parents mediate their schedules experience significantly lower levels of long-term stress compared to those whose parents litigated custody. This is because the mediation process forces the parents to communicate, creating a foundation for co-parenting that litigation would have systematically destroyed. The economic impact of this shift on U.S. society is staggering. While the legal industry has had to adapt to lower billable hours per case, the overall economy benefits from families retaining more of their net worth. When $100,000 stays within a family rather than being paid to 4 different law firms and expert witnesses, that money goes toward college tuitions, retirement accounts, and consumer spending. We are seeing a democratization of high-quality legal outcomes. In the 1980s, only the extremely wealthy could afford the kind of sophisticated, tailored settlements that are now common in middle-class mediations. Furthermore, the integration of technology in 2026 has made mediation more accessible than ever. Virtual mediation platforms, which gained traction during the early 2020s, have now evolved into immersive environments. Parties can participate from different cities, reducing the physical tension of being in the same room, while still benefiting from the guided negotiation of a professional. These platforms use secure document portals and digital whiteboards to track progress in real time, ensuring that by the end of a session, a memorandum of understanding can be generated and reviewed instantly. This is the new reality of American divorce. It is faster, it is more private, and it is significantly more precise. But as this industry grows, new challenges arise. How do we ensure power imbalances are neutralized? How does a mediator handle a situation where one party is significantly more financially literate than the other? And what happens when the emotional baggage of the marriage becomes a roadblock that no amount of logical data can move? In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the dark side of the transformation, the sophisticated tactics used to navigate high-conflict personalities. We will explore the specific language patterns mediators use to de-escalate rage, and the surprising reason why the most successful settlements often happen when both parties feel slightly unhappy. We are also going to break down the specific legal hurdles that can still derail a mediation in 2026, and how the most experienced practitioners anticipate these traps before the first word is ever spoken. If you think the shift to mediation is just about being nice, you are about to see just how strategic and calculated this process truly is. The common misconception about modern mediation in 2026 is that it is a soft process, a hand-holding session designed to make everyone feel good. In reality, the transformation of the U.S. mediation landscape has turned it into a high-stakes psychological chess match where the board is built on data, and the pieces are moved with surgical precision. To understand how the pros handle high-conflict personalities, we have to look at the mechanics of the power imbalance. Imagine a scenario involving a couple, Mark and Jennifer. Mark has been the primary breadwinner in a high-intensity corporate role for 20 years, while Jennifer has managed the household and local community investments. In a traditional 1990s setting, Mark might attempt to use his financial literacy as a blunt instrument to intimidate Jennifer into a settlement that fails to account for her long-term security. In the 2026 transformed model, the mediator identifies this imbalance before the first joint session even begins. They utilize a technique known as pre-mediation coaching. This isn't about giving legal advice. It is about leveling the information playing field. The mediator might provide Jennifer with a structured checklist of financial documents to review with her independent consultant, ensuring she enters the room with the same level of data-driven confidence as Mark. This strategic preparation is a historical trend that has shifted mediation from a reactive process to a proactive one. When both parties are equally informed, the potential outcomes move away from exploitation and toward sustainable equity. But what happens when the conflict isn't just about money, but about personality? We are documenting a massive rise in the use of specialized protocols for high-conflict individuals. In 2026, many U.S. mediators are trained in the BIF method: brief, informative, friendly, and firm, as a way to manage communication. They also employ a strategy called the ER statement: empathy, attention, and respect. Imagine if Mark launches into a tirade about Jennifer's past spending habits. In an old-school courtroom, an attorney would object, a judge would scold, and the tension would escalate. In a modern mediation, the professional mediator uses a process called looping. They listen to the underlying concern, strip away the inflammatory language, and reflect back the core interest. They might say, "It sounds like you are concerned about the long-term stability of the family's liquid assets." By reframing an insult into a financial goal, the mediator de-escalates the amygdala and forces the participants back into their logical prefrontal cortex. This leads us to one of the most calculated aspects of the masterclass: the strategic use of the caucus. In high-conflict 2026 mediations, the parties may spend 80% of their time in separate rooms, either physically or in digital breakout sessions. The mediator acts as a shuttle diplomat. This is where the real work of transformation occurs. In the caucus, the mediator can perform a reality test that would be impossible in a joint session. They might ask Mark, based on historical trends in this jurisdiction, how do you think a judge would view your proposal to retain 100% of the pension while offering no spousal support? They use the threat of the expensive, unpredictable courtroom as a shadow to drive the parties toward a rational compromise. This isn't about being nice. It is about the cold, hard calculation of risk management. A fascinating case study from 2025 illustrates this perfectly. A couple with a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio was stuck on a single property. The emotional attachment was so high that they were willing to spend $50,000 in legal fees to fight over a house with only $200,000 in equity. The mediator used a technique called the bracketed move. They asked both parties to propose a range rather than a single number. By moving the conversation from a fixed point to a spectrum of potential outcomes, the mediator allowed both David and Elena to feel they had room to maneuver without losing face. This psychological softening is a cornerstone of the modern American mediation success rate. We must also address the surprising data point mentioned earlier: why the best settlements often involve a degree of mutual dissatisfaction. In the negotiation theory utilized in 2026, this is known as the zone of possible agreement, or ZOPA. If one person walks away from a divorce feeling like they won everything, the settlement is statistically less likely to be durable. The other party will often experience buyer's remorse and find ways to obstruct the implementation of the agreement through post-decree litigation. The transformation of mediation has taught us that a sustainable agreement is one where both parties feel they have made a difficult but fair trade-off. It is the peace of the exhausted, but it is a peace that lasts. To achieve this, mediators in the United States are increasingly using anchoring and framing. Step by step, they guide the parties to anchor their expectations not on their highest hopes, but on objective benchmarks. They might use the local real estate market data, 2026 tax codes, or standard developmental charts for children's ages. By framing the conversation around these external facts, the mediator removes the personal vitriol. It is no longer Jennifer versus Mark. It is Jennifer and Mark versus the reality of the 2026 economy. Another deep dive detail involves the integration of the divorce coach. In the mid-2020s, the role of the coach transformed from a luxury to a strategic necessity in high-conflict cases. The coach works alongside the mediation process to handle the emotional volatility that usually derails legal negotiations. They help the client prepare for the session, manage their triggers, and stay focused on the future rather than the past. This specialized division of labor allows the mediator to remain a neutral facilitator of the deal, while the coach ensures the human beings involved are capable of making a deal. We also see a historical trend in the rise of the Memorandum of Understanding or MOU. In the past, this was a loose outline. In 2026, the MOU has become a highly detailed, technical document that often serves as the verbatim basis for the final legal decree. The precision required in these documents is immense. Every contingency must be addressed. What happens if a parent moves more than 50 miles away? How are college expenses handled if the tuition exceeds the cost of a state university? By documenting every if-then scenario, the mediation process prevents the very conflicts that would have sent a 1990s couple back to court 5 years later. However, even the most strategic mediator faces the trap of the hidden agenda. This occurs when one party is using the mediation process not to settle, but to conduct discovery on the cheap or to simply stall for time while they hide assets. The 2026 transformation includes specific safeguards against this. Mediators now often require a signed agreement that includes a bad faith clause. If it is discovered that a party intentionally provided false data or withheld information, the mediation can be terminated, and the deceptive party may face significant sanctions in the eventual court case. This accountability is what gives the modern system its teeth. As we look at the way power is balanced and conflict is managed, it becomes clear that mediation is the most sophisticated form of legal engineering currently available in the U.S. It requires a mastery of human behavior, financial complexity, and legal boundaries. But even with all these tools, there is one area that remains the most volatile: the intersection of family business and divorce. When the asset isn't just a house or a bank account, but a living, breathing company that employs dozens of people, the mediation process undergoes its most extreme test. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to explore the complex world of the mediated business divorce. We will document how 2026 practitioners handle the valuation of sweat equity, the problem of the double dip in support calculations, and the innovative ways American entrepreneurs are restructuring their companies to survive the end of their marriages. We will look at case studies where a business was saved through a creative mediation, and others where the lack of a clear strategy led to a total liquidation. The stakes are about to get much higher as we move from the family home to the corporate office. When a family-owned business is involved, the mediation process in 2026 shifts from a standard domestic negotiation into a sophisticated corporate restructuring. In the United States, small to medium-sized enterprises form the backbone of the economy, and many are co-owned or operated by married couples. In a traditional 1990s litigation scenario, the business was often treated as a sacrificial lamb. Attorneys would fight to value the company as high or as low as possible to sway the asset division, frequently resulting in a court-ordered sale or a liquidation that destroyed decades of brand equity and put dozens of employees out of work. The transformation of mediation has introduced a far more surgical approach, the business-centric mediation model. Imagine a couple in 2026. Let us call them Robert and Sarah. They spent 15 years building a specialized medical supply company in Ohio. Robert handles the logistics and operations, while Sarah manages the sales and key client relationships. They own the company 50-50, In a litigated divorce, Sarah might try to claim a massive buyout based on a high valuation, forcing Robert to take on crippling debt that would likely bankrupt the company within 2 years. Conversely, Robert might try to argue the company has little value without his daily oversight, leaving Sarah without her fair share of the marital growth. In the modern mediation framework, the goal is the preservation of the entity. The process begins with the appointment of a joint neutral business valuator. This is a critical step-by-step detail. Instead of two competing experts creating conflicting reports, a single expert is hired by both parties through the mediator. This expert provides a comprehensive valuation using 3 primary methods: the asset-based approach, the market approach, and the income approach. In 2026, this valuation also accounts for intangible assets that were often ignored in the past, such as the value of the company's data, its social media influence, and its proprietary software. Historical trends show that when couples use a neutral valuator, the potential outcomes for the business's survival increase by over 40%. Once the valuation is established, the mediator facilitates a series of sessions focused on executive restructuring. For Robert and Sarah, the question is no longer who gets the business, but how the business continues to function. The mediator might help them draft a new operating agreement that transitions Sarah into a silent partner with a preferred dividend, or perhaps they agree to a structured buyout where Sarah receives payments over 7 years, secured by the company's assets. This allows the business to maintain its cash flow while ensuring Sarah receives her equitable share. A major hurdle in these negotiations is the problem of the double dip. This is a technical legal concept that mediators in 2026 have become experts at navigating. The double dip occurs when a business's income is counted once as an asset to be divided, and a second time as the source of income for calculating spousal or child support. In an adversarial courtroom, this can lead to a windfall for one party and financial ruin for the other. A modern mediator uses sophisticated financial modeling to ensure that the income used to value the business is clearly separated from the income used for support. They might propose a trade-off where one party takes a larger share of the non-business assets, like the family home or investment accounts, in exchange for waiving a portion of the business equity. Consider another case study from 2026 involving a high-growth tech startup. The founders, let us call them James and Chloe, are divorcing just as the company is preparing for a Series C funding round. A public divorce filing or a protracted legal battle could signal instability to investors, potentially tanking the valuation or causing the funding round to collapse entirely. This is where the confidentiality of mediation becomes a high-value asset. By keeping the negotiations private and out of the public record, James and Chloe protect the company's reputation. The mediator works with corporate counsel to create a tiered equity structure. Chloe might receive non-voting shares that convert to cash upon a future liquidity event, while James retains voting control to satisfy the board of directors. This level of nuanced corporate engineering is simply not possible in a standard U.S. family court. We must also document the rise of the internal corporate mediator. In larger family offices or multi-generational businesses, the divorce of a key principal can create a ripple effect throughout the entire organization. In 2026, we are seeing the emergence of mediation teams that include an organizational psychologist. This professional works with the company's senior management to manage the optics of the transition and prevent employee turnover. They help the divorcing couple establish a code of conduct for the office, ensuring that their personal conflict does not bleed into the professional environment. Another deep dive detail is the treatment of sweat equity. In many American businesses, one spouse may have contributed significant labor without taking a formal salary, or they may have provided the initial seed capital from an inheritance. In the past, these contributions were often minimized or difficult to quantify. In 2026, mediators use specific contribution analysis frameworks to assign a financial value to these efforts. This might involve looking at the market rate for the roles the non-owner spouse performed or calculating the opportunity cost of the capital they provided. By quantifying the unquantifiable, the mediator removes the emotional resentment that often stalls business-related settlements. The transformation also addresses the reality of the 2026 gig economy and digital entrepreneurship. We are seeing an influx of cases involving influencers, YouTubers, and independent consultants where the business is essentially the person. In these instances, the traditional valuation models fail. The mediator must facilitate a discussion on the future earning capacity and the division of digital property rights. For example, if a couple co-ran a successful social media brand, who keeps the handle? Who owns the rights to the back catalog of content? These are the new frontiers of American divorce law, and mediation is the only forum agile enough to keep up with the pace of digital change. Step by step, the mediator guides the couple through a risk-benefit analysis of every potential outcome. Should they sell the company and split the proceeds? Should one buy the other out? Or should they continue as co-owners? The data suggests that while co-ownership is rare, it is becoming more viable in 2026 due to the structured communication protocols developed during the mediation process. These couples essentially transition from a marriage to a professional partnership, governed by a strict legal framework that dictates how decisions are made and how profits are distributed. As we see the business world and the legal world converge in these sessions, it becomes clear that the modern mediator is part lawyer, part accountant, and part CEO. They are managing a merger and acquisition within the context of a family dissolution. The complexity is immense, and the margin for error is razor thin. If the financial modeling is off by even a few percentage points, it can mean the difference between a thriving enterprise and a shuttered storefront. But what happens when the assets aren't just businesses or bank accounts, but involve the most complex and contentious financial instrument of the modern era? As we move deeper into the 2026 landscape, we have to talk about the invisible wealth. We are talking about the decentralized, the encrypted, and the hidden. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the world of cryptocurrency and digital forensic mediation. We will document how mediators handle the discovery of hidden wallets, the valuation of volatile tokens, and the legal strategies used to divide assets that exist only on the blockchain. The transformation is about to enter the digital void, and the rules of engagement are changing once again. The year 2026 has brought us to a crossroads where the physical world of deeds and titles meets the ephemeral world of the blockchain, and nowhere is this collision more volatile than in the mediation room. In the mid-2010s, cryptocurrency was a niche hobby. Today, it is a primary asset class that has fundamentally altered the discovery phase of American divorce. The transformation we are documenting involves the shift from searching shoeboxes for receipts to deploying digital forensics to track cold wallets and decentralized finance protocols. In a traditional courtroom setting, a judge might struggle to understand the difference between a hot wallet and a hardware encrypted ledger. But in the modern mediation model, the process is built on technical literacy and cryptographic verification. Imagine a couple in 2026. Let us call them Brian and Lisa. Brian is a software engineer who has been quietly accumulating various digital assets for nearly a decade. Lisa, who handled the more traditional aspects of their financial life, suspects there is a significant pool of wealth that does not appear on their joint tax returns. In a 1990s legal battle, Lisa's attorney would have filed subpoenas to banks, but those banks have no record of Brian's decentralized holdings. This creates a massive power imbalance that can derail a fair settlement. However, the 2026 mediation transformation solves this through the integration of the neutral digital forensic auditor. Step by step, the mediator facilitates a process where both parties agree to a transparent digital audit. This auditor doesn't just look at bank statements, they analyze public ledger transactions. They look for patterns, regular withdrawals from a joint account that disappear into an exchange like Coinbase or Kraken. They track the flow of funds to private wallets. In 2026, many U.S. mediation agreements now include a specific crypto disclosure clause. This clause stipulates that if a hidden wallet is discovered post-divorce, the non-disclosing party may be required to forfeit a significantly higher percentage of that asset as a penalty. This historical trend toward radical transparency is the only way the mediation system can maintain its integrity in a digital-first economy. The valuation of these assets presents a unique challenge that requires a deep dive into market volatility. Unlike a house, which might fluctuate in value by 5% over a year, a cryptocurrency portfolio can swing by 20% in a single afternoon. How do you divide an asset that changes value while you are sitting in the mediation session? The solution being utilized in 2026 is the percentage-based distribution model rather than a fixed dollar valuation. Instead of agreeing that Lisa gets $50,000 worth of Bitcoin, the mediator facilitates an agreement where Lisa receives a specific percentage of the total coins. This ensures that both parties share in the potential outcomes of the market's movement, whether it goes up or down, after the mediation concludes. Consider a case study from early 2026 involving non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, and virtual real estate. A couple had invested heavily in digital land within a specific metaverse platform. To a traditional family court, this might look like a video game with no real-world value. But in the mediation room, The neutral expert was able to demonstrate that this virtual land generated actual rental income and had a measurable market price. The mediator helped the couple treat this digital property exactly like a physical commercial building. They drafted a settlement where the digital land was held in a specialized trust, with the income split between the parties until a predetermined market high was reached, at which point the asset would be liquidated. This level of creativity is why mediation has become the preferred choice for the tech-savvy US public. But the digital void goes deeper than just coins and land. We are also documenting the rise of the digital legacy and data privacy in mediation. In 2026, a person's digital footprint, their social media accounts, their cloud storage, even their gaming avatars, has emotional and sometimes financial value. The mediator must now facilitate discussions on who retains the family's digital photo archives, or who gets to keep the high-level account in a popular online ecosystem. While this might seem trivial to an outsider, for the families living in a digitized society, these are the assets that define their daily lives. Another critical detail in the 2026 transformation is the handling of tax liabilities associated with digital assets. Many Americans are unaware that the simple act of transferring cryptocurrency from one spouse to another can, in some jurisdictions, trigger a taxable event if not structured correctly under the Internal Revenue Code. The modern mediator works with a tax neutral to ensure that the distribution of digital wealth is done through a qualified domestic relations order or a similar instrument that minimizes the tax burden for both parties. They use historical trends in IRS enforcement to guide the couple away from risky settlement structures that could lead to an audit years down the line. The security of these transfers is also a primary concern. In the old world, a check was mailed or a wire was sent. In the 2026 mediation of digital assets, the mediator often oversees the physical transfer of private keys or the creation of new multi-signature wallets to ensure the funds are moved safely. This prevents the nightmare scenario where one party claims they sent the crypto, but the other party claims it never arrived in their wallet. The mediator acts as a witness to the digital transaction, providing a level of security that a courtroom clerk simply cannot offer. We are also seeing a shift in how the US public views the concept of the marital estate. In the past, the estate was tangible. Now, it is often composed of intellectual property, software code, and algorithmic revenue streams. Mediation has adapted by allowing for the creation of licensing agreements within a divorce settlement. If one spouse developed a piece of software during the marriage, the other spouse might receive a royalty for a set number of years. This allows the creator to keep the asset and continue its development, while the other spouse receives a fair share of the fruit of that marital labor. The complexity of these digital age mediations has led to the development of the tech-assisted mediator. These professionals use AI-driven tools to scan thousands of pages of financial data in seconds, flagging inconsistencies that a human might miss. This isn't about the AI making the decisions, but about providing the mediator and the couple with the most accurate data possible. By removing the manual labor of financial discovery, the 2026 mediation process can focus on the high-level negotiations and the emotional restructuring of the family. As we document this transition into the digital void, it becomes clear that the legal system is struggling to keep pace with technology, but mediation is filling that gap. It is a flexible, private, and highly technical forum where the modern American family can resolve the most complex disputes of the 21st century. However, as we solve the digital problems, we find ourselves circling back to a more ancient and visceral conflict. While we can track Bitcoin on a ledger and value software code with an algorithm, we still haven't perfected the most difficult part of the transformation: the human element of deep-seated betrayal and the psychological roadblocks that no amount of technology can fix. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to look at the intersection of psychology and law. We will document the specific protocols used in 2026 to handle cases of infidelity, financial narcissism, and the high-conflict personality types that thrive on chaos. We are going to explore why some mediations fail at the very last second, and the secret strategies the top 1% of mediators use to bring a couple back from the brink of total legal war. The digital tools are powerful, but the next part is about the power of the human mind. The human mind is the ultimate wild card in the 2026 mediation landscape. Even with the most sophisticated digital forensic tools and ironclad financial spreadsheets, the entire process can ground to a halt because of a single psychological trigger. We are documenting a major shift in the U.S. legal system where the mediator has transitioned from being a mere facilitator of settlement to a high-level psychological architect. This is necessary because in the high-stakes environment of a divorce, the brain often enters a state of chronic fight or flight. To understand the strategies used to manage this, we must look at the neuroscience of the settlement. Imagine a participant in 2026. Let us call her Maria. Maria has just discovered a series of financial betrayals by her spouse, Thomas. As they sit in the mediation session, Thomas presents a logical, data-driven plan for dividing their retirement accounts. To an outside observer, the plan is fair. But for Maria, the mere sound of Thomas's voice triggers the same neural pathways as a physical threat. Her prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logical reasoning and long-term planning, effectively goes offline. In a traditional 1990s courtroom, the judge would ignore Maria's emotional state and issue a ruling, often leading to a lifetime of resentment and non-compliance. In the 2026 transformed mediation model, the mediator pauses the technical discussion to engage in a process called somatic de-escalation. Step by step, the mediator uses linguistic patterns designed to lower the emotional temperature. This involves a historical trend known as active listening with a neutrality bias. The mediator reflects Maria's feelings without validating her accusations, using phrases like, "I hear that trust is a significant barrier for you in this negotiation." This simple acknowledgement can lower cortisol levels enough to allow Maria to re-engage with the financial data. The top 1% of mediators in the United States are now trained in these trauma-informed protocols, recognizing that a settlement signed in a state of high emotional duress is a settlement that will likely fail in the implementation phase. A critical case study from 2025 involves the management of the high-conflict personality, specifically those exhibiting narcissistic traits. In these scenarios, the conflict is the goal for one party. They do not want a settlement. They want a stage upon which to perform their perceived superiority. In the past, these cases were deemed unmediatable and sent straight to trial, where they would languish for years. Today, mediators use a technique called narrow-focus bargaining. They strip away the narrative of who did what to whom and focus exclusively on binary choices. Instead of asking Thomas how he feels about the house, they ask, "Would you prefer to take the liquid cash from the sale or the equity in the commercial property?" By removing the emotional oxygen, the mediator starves the high-conflict personality of the drama they crave, forcing them toward a pragmatic outcome. We must also document the strategy of the symbolic win. In many U.S. mediations, a party will dig their heels in on a minor issue like a piece of furniture or a specific vacation week, not because they actually care about the item, but because they need to feel they won something after a perceived life of losing. A skilled 2026 mediator identifies these symbolic anchors early. They might encourage the other party to give up the contested dining room set in exchange for a much more valuable concession on the duration of spousal support. This is the art of the trade-off, and it requires a deep understanding of human ego. Another deep dive detail is the use of the impasse break. Every complex mediation eventually hits a wall. In the 2026 framework, the impasse is not seen as a failure, but as a predictable stage of the process. The mediator might use a technique called the hypothetical flip. They ask, "Imagine if we were to walk away today and go to trial. Based on historical trends in this district, you would spend roughly $40,000 more in fees and wait 14 months for a decision. If that decision ended up looking exactly like the offer on the table today, how would you feel about that lost time and money?" This reality testing is a powerful psychological tool that shifts the focus from the pain of the compromise to the pain of the alternative. The transformation also includes the management of the secondary circle. In the United States, a divorce doesn't just involve two people. It involves a chorus of friends, family members, and new partners who often give conflicting and aggressive advice. This is what mediators call the kitchen cabinet. In 2026, a sophisticated mediator might require a session where these influencers are addressed, or they may coach the parties on how to communicate the mediation progress to their social circles without inviting sabotage. They teach the participants to use neutral language, which prevents the secondary circle from fueling the fire of the conflict. Furthermore, we are seeing the rise of the psychological closure clause. In some modern U.S. settlements, the parties agreed to a specific set of communication rules for the future. This goes beyond just saying they will be respectful. It involves step-by-step instructions. All communication regarding the children must happen via a specific app. Responses are required within 24 hours but not after 9 p.m., and certain inflammatory topics are permanently off-limits. This provides a psychological safety net that allows both parties to begin the healing process, knowing that their boundaries are legally protected. Consider the role of the apology in mediation. While a courtroom never requires an apology, A 2026 mediation session might facilitate one as a strategic move. A case study from a high-net-worth divorce in California showed that a genuine, well-timed acknowledgement of past mistakes by one party saved over 6 months of legal posturing. It wasn't about admitting legal liability. It was about providing the emotional validation the other party needed to finally let go of a specific financial demand. This is the human element that no algorithm can replicate. The 2026 model also accounts for the decision fatigue that sets in during long sessions. Traditional legal marathons where parties are kept in a room until 2 a.m. to force a signature are now seen as unethical and counterproductive. Modern protocols favor shorter, high-intensity sessions with periods of reflection in between. This ensures that the potential outcomes are being evaluated with a clear head, reducing the likelihood of a party trying to overturn the agreement later by claiming they were coerced by exhaustion. As we document this intersection of the mind and the law, it becomes clear that the transformation of mediation is a move toward holistic resolution. It acknowledges that a divorce is a legal event, a financial event, and a psychological event all at once. By addressing the brain's biological response to conflict, the 2026 mediator creates a space where sustainable agreements can actually grow. However, even with the best psychological strategies, there is a looming shadow over every mediation session in the United States. It is a force that can override even the most settled mind and the most balanced budget. We are talking about the shifting legislative landscape. In 2026, the laws governing alimony, child support, and asset division are in a state of flux across the 50 states. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the legal volatility of the mid-2020s. We will document the specific state-level changes that are catching families off guard, and how the modern mediator must act as a legal scout, navigating a map that is being redrawn in real time. The psychological piece is vital, but without a solid grasp of the changing law, that piece is built on sand. The legal map of the United States in 2026 is undergoing a seismic shift, particularly in how state legislatures define the financial obligations of a dissolving marriage. For decades, the legal framework for alimony and child support remained relatively stagnant, relying on broad judicial discretion that often led to inconsistent results. However, the transformation we are documenting today involves a nationwide trend toward formulaic rigidity and the sunsetting of permanent spousal support. In the mediation room, this means the conversation has shifted from emotional appeals for fairness to a technical analysis of state-specific statutes. To navigate this, the modern mediator must be an expert in the legislative volatility of 2026. Imagine a participant named Kevin, a mid-level executive in Florida. Under the old laws of the early 2010s, if Kevin ended a 20-year marriage, he might have been looking at a permanent periodic alimony obligation. This created a lifetime of financial linkage that often sparked recurring litigation. But in the 2026 landscape, many states have followed the historical trend of replacing permanent alimony with durational or rehabilitative support. The goal is no longer to provide a permanent lifestyle subsidy, but to provide a bridge to self-sufficiency. In a mediation session, the mediator uses this legislative reality to ground the expectations of both parties. They might show Kevin and his spouse, Linda, the specific durational limits based on the length of their marriage, effectively narrowing the range of potential outcomes before the bargaining even begins. This shift toward math-based law is most evident in the evolution of child support guidelines. In 2026, we are seeing the widespread adoption of the income shares model across more U.S. jurisdictions. This model is based on the concept that a child should receive the same proportion of parental income that they would have received if the parents lived together. The transformation involves moving away from a simple percentage of the non-custodial parents' income to a complex calculation that includes both parents' gross incomes, the cost of health insurance premiums, and the specific number of overnights each parent has. In mediation, this transparency is a powerful tool. Instead of arguing over a number, the mediator and the couple plug the data into a state-authorized calculator. When the number is generated by an objective algorithm, rather than a subjective demand, the level of conflict drops significantly. However, the legal volatility of 2026 also introduces new traps. Consider the case study of a couple in a state that recently overhauled its property division laws to include a more aggressive definition of separate property. Let us call them Marcus and Sophia. Marcus owned a small tech firm before the marriage, but during their 15 years together, the company's value skyrocketed due to Sophia's contributions as a marketing consultant. In the past, the entire increase in value might have been considered a marital asset. But new 2026 statutes in several states are now requiring a more granular tracing of what is called active versus passive appreciation. The mediator in this case must act as a technical guide. They facilitate the hiring of a neutral forensic accountant who specializes in tracing. Step by step, they analyze which part of the company's growth was due to market forces, passive appreciation, and which part was due to the efforts of the spouses, active appreciation. This level of detail is necessary because the legal landscape no longer accepts broad brush strokes. If a mediation agreement in 2026 does not specifically address these statutory nuances, it risks being rejected by a judge or worse, being overturned on appeal 3 years later. We must also document the rise of the pre-settlement legal audit. Because laws are changing so rapidly in 2026, many top-tier mediation firms now include a final review stage where a separate legal specialist checks the agreement against the very latest legislative updates. This is crucial for issues like the taxability of support payments. While the federal tax changes of 2019 made alimony non-deductible for the payer and non-taxable for the recipient, some states in 2026 are experimenting with their own state-level tax offsets to encourage private settlements. A mediator who is not aware of these microtrends is leaving money on the table for their clients. The transformation of the legal landscape is also affecting the concept of the marital home. With interest rates in 2026 remaining higher than the historical lows of the early 2020s, the traditional strategy of one spouse buying out the other and refinancing the mortgage is often financially impossible. The mortgage at 3% cannot be replaced by a new one at 7% without doubling the monthly payment. This has forced mediators to innovate. We are seeing the rise of the deferred sale agreement or the shared equity arrangement. In these scenarios, the couple remains on the deed together for a set period, perhaps until the youngest child graduates high school, while the mediation agreement dictates exactly who pays which portion of the upkeep and how the eventual equity will be split. This is a legal workaround to a purely economic problem, and it requires a mediator who understands real estate law as deeply as they understand family law. Furthermore, we are documenting a shift in how courts view the role of the mediator's report. In some U.S. states in 2026, a mediated agreement is now given a presumption of fairness. This means that unless there is evidence of fraud or duress, a judge will not look behind the curtain of the agreement. This historical trend has significantly increased the stakes of the mediation process. In the 1990s, the court was a safety net. In 2026, the mediation table is the final destination. This reality has led to the professionalization of the Memorandum of Understanding into a document that is effectively a self-executing contract. Consider the example of the pet custody laws that have swept across several U.S. states by 2026. In the past, a dog was treated as a piece of property, no different than a toaster. Today, several jurisdictions require courts to consider the well-being of the animal. In mediation, this has opened up a whole new category of negotiation. Mediators are now drafting pet parenting plans that include visitation schedules, the division of veterinary expenses, and even clauses regarding the animal's diet. While this might seem minor, for many American families, it is a high-stakes emotional issue that could have derailed an entire settlement if the legal system had not evolved to acknowledge it. The legal volatility also extends to the recognition of non-traditional family structures. As we move through 2026, mediation is becoming the primary tool for resolving disputes in multi-parent households or for couples who were never legally married but have significant shared assets and children. The traditional court system, built on the binary model of the nuclear family, often fails these individuals. Mediation allows for a bespoke legal framework that the participants can then take to a court for a customized order, effectively hacking the legal system to fit their lived reality. As we see, the modern mediator in the United States must possess a staggering amount of legal knowledge. They are navigating a transition period where old precedents are being discarded and new, data-driven statutes are taking their place. It is a world where a misplaced comma in a child support calculation or an ignored state tax provision can cost a family tens of thousands of dollars. The transformation of mediation is a move toward extreme precision. But as we master the law and the math, we are left with the most difficult challenge of all: the children. Even when the money is divided and the legalities are settled, the long-term success of a family restructuring depends on the psychological health of the next generation. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to document the revolution in child-centered mediation. We will look at how 2026 practitioners are giving children a voice without giving them a choice, the rise of the child specialist in the mediation room, and the specific strategies used to protect the adolescent brain from the fallout of a high-stakes divorce. We are moving from the technicalities of the law to the heart of the family. The heart of the family is not a legal concept, but in 2026, it has become the central focus of the mediation transformation. For decades, children were the silent casualties of the American divorce system, often treated as cargo to be moved between two locations on a rigid schedule. The adversarial system essentially forced parents to compete for time, creating a win-loss dynamic that placed children in the crossfire of loyalty conflicts. The deep dive we are conducting now documents the rise of child-inclusive mediation, a specialized framework that has gained massive traction across the United States over the last 5 years. This model is built on a sophisticated psychological principle, giving children a voice without giving them the burden of the choice. To understand how this works in 2026, imagine a family with two teenagers, Ethan and Maya. Their parents, Chris and Samantha, are deep in the mediation process. In the old model, Chris and Samantha would argue over who gets the kids on Tuesday nights, based on their own work schedules and personal preferences. In the transformed model, the mediator introduces a child specialist, a neutral mental health professional who is specifically trained to interface with the mediation process. This specialist does not act as a therapist, but as a consultant for the children's developmental needs. Step by step, the child specialist meets with Ethan and Maya in a safe, neutral environment. They use specific age-appropriate techniques to understand the children's daily realities. They aren't asking, "Who do you want to live with?" That is a high-pressure question that forces a child to pick a favorite parent. Instead, they ask, "Tell me about your Tuesday nights. What makes your school week easier? What do you worry about when you think about having two homes?" The specialist then synthesizes this information and brings it back to the mediation table. When Chris and Samantha hear that Ethan is stressed about hauling his heavy sports equipment back and forth midweek, the conversation shifts from parental rights to practical problem solving. This is the essence of the 2026 child-centered revolution. Historical trends show that when parents receive feedback from a child specialist, the likelihood of a high-conflict custody battle drops by nearly 60%. This is because it is much harder for a parent to maintain an aggressive, self-centered position when they are confronted with the objective reality of their child's experience. In the 2026 U.S. landscape, we are also documenting a move toward the developmental parenting plan. These plans are not static documents. They are designed to evolve as the child grows. A plan for a 3-year-old looks nothing like a plan for a 13-year-old. The mediator facilitates the creation of a schedule that automatically triggers a review or a shift in the time-sharing arrangement when the child hits specific milestones, such as entering middle school or getting a driver's license. Let us look at a case study involving a high-conflict situation in 2026. A father, let us call him Jason, was insisting on a week-on, week-off schedule for his 6-year-old daughter. The mother, Emily, was convinced this would cause severe separation anxiety. In a 1990s courtroom, this would have resulted in thousands of dollars spent on competing custody evaluators. In the 2026 mediation, the child specialist was able to explain the concept of the attachment bridge. They showed Jason and Emily data on how young children benefit from shorter, more frequent transitions rather than long absences. They mediated a 2-2-3 schedule that prioritized the child's sense of security, while ensuring Jason had significant, high-quality time. By educating the parents on child development, the mediator turned a legal fight into a collaborative parenting strategy. The transformation also addresses the specific needs of the adolescent brain. In 2026, neuroscientific research has become a staple of the mediation room. Mediators explain to parents that the prefrontal cortex of a teenager is still under construction, making them more susceptible to the stress of parental conflict. This has led to the rise of the parallel parenting model for high-conflict families. In cases where the parents simply cannot communicate without exploding, the mediator drafts a plan that minimizes contact between the adults while maximizing the child's access to both. This includes separate entrance and exit protocols for school events, and the mandatory use of parenting coordination software. These digital tools serve as the formal record, removing the need for phone calls or text messages that often devolve into arguments. Another deep dive detail is the inclusion of the grandparent and extended family clause. As American society becomes more fragmented, the role of the village has become more critical. In 2026, we are seeing mediation agreements that specifically protect the child's relationship with grandparents, cousins, and long-term family friends. These clauses ensure that the child's social support network remains intact regardless of the parent's relationship status. This is a significant historical shift from the era when grandparents had almost no legal standing in a divorce. The financial aspect of child-rearing has also been transformed in 2026 mediation. We are moving beyond the state-mandated child support numbers to discuss the extraordinary expenses. The mediator facilitates a granular breakdown of costs. Who pays for the private SAT tutor? How are the expenses for out-of-state club soccer tournaments split? What happens if a child needs braces or long-term mental health support? By documenting these potential outcomes in advance, the mediation process prevents the recurring friction that leads to post-divorce litigation. In many high-net-worth 2026 mediations, we even see the creation of a 529 educational trust as part of the settlement, ensuring that the children's future is funded and protected from the parents' future financial changes. Furthermore, we are documenting a rise in the use of the nesting arrangement as a transitional tool. In 2026, more American families are opting for a period where the children stay in the family home, while the parents rotate in and out. While this is not a permanent solution for most, as a 3 to 6 month bridge, it provides the children with a sense of stability, while the parents finalize their separate living arrangements. The mediator drafts a strict nesting agreement that covers everything from grocery shopping to how the home should be cleaned between rotations. This level of detail is what makes these unconventional arrangements work. The role of the mediator in these child-focused sessions is to act as the voice of the future. They remind the parents that while they are currently in a period of intense pain, they will likely be standing next to each other at high school graduations, weddings, and the births of grandchildren for decades to come. The transformation of mediation in U.S. society is effectively an investment in the long-term social capital of the family. It treats the end of a marriage not as the end of a family, but as a structural reorganization. But even with the most child-centered plans and the best developmental data, there is one final hurdle that every mediated agreement must clear. In 2026, a settlement is only as good as its enforceability. As we reach the final stages of the transformation, we have to talk about the transition from the mediation room back to the legal system. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to document the finalization process. We will look at how a memorandum of understanding is converted into a legally binding judgment, the common mistakes that cause judges to reject mediated settlements, and the specific 2026 filing protocols that ensure your agreement stands the test of time. We are moving from the negotiation of the heart to the finality of the law. The transition from a successful mediation session to a legally enforceable court order is the most critical technical phase in the 2026 American divorce landscape. In the past, many couples believed that once they shook hands or signed a rough outline of their agreement, the process was effectively over. However, the transformation we are documenting has revealed that the gap between a memorandum of understanding and a final judgment is where the most significant legal risks reside. In 2026, the U.S. court system has become increasingly rigorous about the language used in these documents, and a failure to adhere to specific state-level formatting and statutory requirements can result in a settlement being rejected, forcing the parties back to the starting line. Imagine a couple, Alex and Taylor, who have just spent 3 months in mediation. They have reached a comprehensive agreement on their multi-state real estate holdings and the division of Alex's executive compensation package. They leave the mediator's office with a 10-page memorandum of understanding. In 1995, they might have handed this to a clerk and received a signature. In 2026, that memorandum must be translated into a formal stipulated judgment or a marital settlement agreement that speaks the specific dialect of the local jurisdiction. This translation process is a step-by-step exercise in legal precision. The first step in this finalization process is the due diligence review. Even if a mediator is an attorney, they are acting as a neutral party, not as the advocate for either Alex or Taylor. In the 2026 model, the historical trend has shifted toward each party taking the mediated agreement to their own consulting attorney for a final review. This is not about reopening negotiations. It is about ensuring that the words on the page actually do what the parties intended. For example, if the agreement says Alex will pay for the children's college, does it specify what happens if the child takes a gap year or attends an international university? A consulting attorney identifies these ambiguities before the document is filed, preventing potential outcomes that include future litigation. A major deep dive detail in the 2026 finalization process is the Qualified Domestic Relations Order, or QDRO. For many American families, the largest asset outside of the home is a retirement account, such as a 401k or a pension. You cannot simply write a check from these accounts without triggering massive tax penalties and early withdrawal fees. In the 2026 transformation, the finalization phase includes the drafting of a separate, highly technical order that instructs the plan administrator on how to split the account. Historically, many couples waited until after the divorce was final to handle the QDRO, only to find that the plan administrator rejected the wording, or worse, that the account holder had already liquidated the funds. Today, the top 1% of mediation practices ensure the QDRO is drafted and pre-approved by the financial institution simultaneously with the marital settlement agreement. Case studies from early 2026 show a rising trend of judicial scrutiny regarding the unconscionability of mediated agreements. In various U.S. states, judges are no longer acting as rubber stamps. If a judge sees an agreement where one spouse receives 90% of the assets while the other is left with significant debt and no support, they may reject the filing on the grounds that it is fundamentally unfair or that one party was under duress. To prevent this, modern 2026 agreements include a specific section known as the recitals. This part of the document tells the story of the mediation. It explicitly states that both parties had access to legal counsel, that all financial disclosures were made voluntarily, and that they both believe the agreement is in the best interest of their family. This creates a legal shield that makes it much harder for either party to challenge the agreement later. Another technical hurdle involves the specific 2026 filing protocols. We are seeing a massive shift toward mandatory e-filing systems that use AI-driven verification to check for missing signatures or incomplete financial affidavits. If Alex and Taylor miss a single required disclosure form, the system will automatically kick back the entire filing. The transformation of the court clerk's office into a digital gatekeeper means that the margin for error has dropped to zero. Mediators now often provide a finalization checklist that ensures every local rule, from the color of the digital font to the specific phrasing of the jurisdictional statement, is followed perfectly. Let us look at a case study involving the division of a primary residence in a high-interest rate environment. Imagine if Alex and Taylor agreed that Taylor would stay in the house for 3 years before selling it. In a 2026 legal filing, this agreement must be incredibly specific. Who is responsible for the roof if it leaks in year 2? Is it a shared expense? Or is it Taylor's responsibility as the resident? What happens if the market drops and the house is underwater? The modern mediated judgment includes a failure to perform clause. This clause dictates the exact steps to be taken if one party fails to meet their financial obligations, such as a court-ordered sale or an automatic offset from other assets. This level of contingency planning is what separates a viral-level professional agreement from a standard one. Furthermore, we must document the role of the final prove-up hearing. While many mediations allow for a completely paper-based divorce, some U.S. jurisdictions still require a brief hearing where the judge asks the parties a series of foundational questions. In 2026, these are often conducted via secure video link. The mediator or the consulting attorneys prepare the parties for this moment, ensuring they can confirm under oath that they understand the terms and are signing of their own free will. This is the moment where the negotiation of the heart officially becomes the finality of the law. The transformation also addresses the issue of post-judgment modifications. In the 2026 landscape, a well-drafted agreement is not just a snapshot of today. It is a framework for tomorrow. It includes specific triggers for modification, such as a significant change in income or a child reaching the age of majority. By defining these triggers in the final judgment, the mediation process ensures that the couple has a roadmap for future changes, potentially avoiding a return to the courtroom 5 or 10 years down the line. We also see a historical trend in the use of the arbitration clause within the final judgment. In 2026, many American couples are choosing to include a provision that requires any future disputes over the interpretation of the agreement to be resolved by a private arbitrator rather than a public judge. This keeps their future conflicts private and ensures they are resolved by someone who is already familiar with the nuances of their family's history. It is a final layer of protection for the privacy that mediation provided in the first place. As we reach the conclusion of this technical deep dive, it is clear that the transformation of mediation is not complete until the last signature is notarized and the court seal is applied to the judgment. The level of detail required in 2026 is higher than it has ever been, reflecting a society that is increasingly complex and data-driven. The couple that navigates this finalization phase correctly is the couple that truly secures their future. But as the legal ink dries and the court records are closed, a new and perhaps more daunting chapter begins. The legal divorce is over, but the social and personal transformation is just beginning. In the final part of this 10-part masterclass, we are going to look beyond the paperwork. We will document the post-mediation life in the United States, the rise of the co-parenting apps, the evolution of the modern blended family, and the data-driven strategies for rebuilding a personal brand after a high-profile separation. We are going to wrap up this deep dive by showing you not just how to end a marriage, but how to successfully document the start of the next era of your life. The legalities are the foundation, but the final part is about the architecture of your new future. The architecture of a new future in the United States, circa 2026, is no longer built on the ruins of a past life, but on the strategic foundations laid during the mediation process. We have documented the legal, financial, and psychological mechanics of the transition, but the true transformation of divorce mediation in U.S. society is visible in how families thrive after the ink has dried. The final phase of this masterclass focuses on the post-decree landscape, a world where the adversarial hangover is replaced by a high-functioning, digitally integrated co-parenting and personal management system. This is where the long-term potential outcomes of mediation truly manifest. Imagine a character named Sarah, whom we followed in earlier segments. It is now 6 months after her final judgment was entered in 2026. In a traditional 1990s scenario, Sarah would likely still be communicating with her former spouse, Robert, through tense, sporadic emails or awkward front porch exchanges, with both parties constantly checking the legal decree to see who was technically right in a given argument. In the 2026 model, Sarah and Robert have transitioned to a platform-based relationship. This is a historical trend where the U.S. public has embraced specialized parenting coordination software. These platforms serve as a single source of truth for expenses, medical records, and school calendars. The deep dive detail here involves the automation of the marital settlement agreement. In 2026, many mediated settlements include a clause that requires the use of these apps, which use integrated payment systems to handle the reimbursement of shared expenses in real time. If Robert pays for their daughter's new soccer cleats, he uploads the receipt to the app, and the system automatically calculates Sarah's percentage share based on the mediated formula and initiates a transfer. This removes the need for a conversation about money, which data shows is the primary trigger for post-divorce conflict. By documenting these logistics during the mediation, the couple has engineered a future where friction is minimized by design. Beyond the logistics of co-parenting, we must examine the transformation of the personal brand and professional identity. In the high-stakes U.S. job market of 2026, a divorce can often be seen as a liability if not handled with discretion. This is where the confidentiality of the mediation process yields its greatest return. Because there are no public transcripts of inflammatory courtroom testimonies, Sarah is able to maintain her professional standing without the shadow of a messy personal life. We are seeing a rise in the use of personal branding consultants who work with individuals post-mediation to restabilize their public-facing identity. This includes updating professional biographies, managing social media transitions, and strategically communicating the change to business networks. The financial architecture of 2026 also requires a post-mediation audit. Once the assets are divided, the individual must restructure their personal economy. This involves a step-by-step realignment of beneficiaries, the creation of new individual trusts, and the recalibration of retirement goals based on the now separated portfolios. Case studies from this year show that individuals who engaged in mediation are statistically more likely to seek out a neutral financial planner within 90 days of their divorce. They have been trained by the mediation process to value data-driven neutrality over biased advocacy. For example, Sarah uses her portion of the distributed assets to establish a diversified portfolio that accounts for the 2026 tax environment, specifically utilizing the tax loss harvesting strategies discussed during her sessions. We must also document the evolution of the blended family in American society. The 2026 mediation model often includes what practitioners call the future spouse clause. This is a highly strategic provision that outlines how and when new partners are introduced to the children. It is not about controlling the other person's life. It is about protecting the children from the revolving door of transitions that characterized the high divorce era of the 1980s. Step by step, these clauses might require that a partner be in a committed relationship for 6 months before meeting the children, or that a joint meeting between the parents and the new partner occurs first. This historical shift acknowledges that the family is an evolving ecosystem, and mediation provides the rules of engagement for that evolution. The psychological transformation is perhaps the most profound. In the old model, the goal was closure, which often meant trying to forget the past. In 2026, the goal is integration. We see this in the rise of the collaborative anniversary, a practice where formerly married couples meet briefly to review the previous year's successes and challenges regarding their children and shared interests. This is only possible because the mediation process preserved the ability to communicate. The data from 2026 family studies suggest that these integrated families report higher levels of life satisfaction and lower levels of chronic stress compared to those who remained in a state of perpetual legal or emotional war. Let us look at an imagine-if scenario regarding the long-term impact on the next generation. Imagine if Ethan and Maya, the children from our earlier case study, enter adulthood seeing conflict not as a catastrophic event, but as a problem to be solved through negotiation and professional mediation. The transformation we are documenting is actually a massive social experiment in conflict resolution education. By choosing mediation, the U.S. public is teaching its children that even the most painful disagreements can be handled with dignity and precision. This is the ultimate potential outcome: the breaking of the cycle of litigious, high-conflict family dynamics that has plagued American society for decades. As we conclude this 10-part masterclass, we have to look at the global implications. The U.S. model of transformative mediation is currently being exported to other jurisdictions, influenced by the efficiency and high success rates documented in states like California, New York, and Texas in 2026. We have moved from a system that was essentially a blunt instrument of the state to a highly refined service industry that prioritizes human agency. The transformation is complete when the public no longer asks if they should mediate, but rather which specialist team is best suited to help them engineer their specific future. The journey from the initial disclaimer to this final architecture has shown that divorce in America is no longer just a legal ending. It is a sophisticated, data-driven restructuring of the individual and the family unit. We have explored the digital forensic audits, the psychological grounding techniques, the business valuations, and the child-centered protocols that define the modern era. You now have the comprehensive roadmap of how the 2026 legal system actually functions behind the scenes. While this deep dive concludes here, the evolution of American law and society never stops. The strategies we have documented today are the gold standard for 2026, but the horizon is already shifting toward even more advanced AI-integrated ADR and decentralized legal frameworks. The curtain has been pulled back, the information gap has been closed, and the power is now in your hands to navigate these transitions with the precision of a masterclass graduate. The final question for every viewer is not about the past, but about the legacy. How will you choose to document your own transition? The tools are available, the protocols are established, and the historical trends are clear. As we move into the next decade, the families who choose the path of strategic mediation are the ones who will define the stability and resilience of the American social fabric. This has been the transformation of divorce mediation in U.S. society.